I mean, actually, first I have to say that it was my colleague Anton Holzer who rediscovered the oeuvre of Robert Haas when we were working together on the To the Fleischmann exhibition. And he was able, after the exhibition, to view the whole work of Robert Haas directly in the USA. And then he came to us and offered us an exhibition, and at that moment we decided, or this was the initial motivation for us to purchase this oeuvre. What is interesting, it's I'm always really very impressed that people have managed to rebuild a new career also in the same field as they have worked before, despite fleeing and being displaced. So Robert Haas' oeuvre is therefore strongly influenced by his flight. So before he was, he was an graphic designer and book printer, and he came in 1930 to photography, and he, in the 1930s, he started working more and more as a photojournalist. And at the end of the 1930s, at the peak of his career, he had to flee, and he came to after London, later on he came to the States. And it's so fascinating that he managed to take all the possibilities that presented him in his new homeland to build a new career. And I think therefore the oeuvre of Robert Haas is strongly influenced by both worlds. This is, I think, quite exciting for me. I was in contact with Haas' two daughters, Katie Haas-Riley and Miriam Haas, and the whole work of Robert Haas was at the home at Miriam's home, and both sisters were very excited about the idea that the whole work, the photographs, the negative archive, the business correspondence is coming back to Vienna. And so they were very supportive from the beginning on with this project, and they were really happy about it, that the oeuvre by Robert Haas is coming, or will be transferred to a museum. And I remember it was really totally wonderful when we finished the exhibition and we opened it, and we made a preview only for the sisters and the family, and it was such a moving moment, and I think it was really a wonderful experience, totally in a positive way. I mean, in contrast to many other photographers, Haas was able to take his whole oeuvre to the United States. When he already was there, friends of him sent his prints, the whole negative archive, and the business correspondence to the USA. So we are really lucky to have all this material for research. And because mostly the work of photographs were destroyed during the war, or we do not know where it is. The other thing is that Haas has graphics, we do not know where it is. So he had this Officina, his graphic office, the Officina, and what happens to this material we do not know. Only the photographs are still existing. Robert Haas had a really very huge and wide range of friends, of people he knew, from conservative Catholics to more liberal, also left-wing circles. So he knew all really a wide range of people, but he belonged to those circle of artists who thought that the so-called Ständestaat, the Austro-fascists, are the only bulwark against the Nazis. So he come to term in a way with them. I'm sure that later on he realized that he was wrong, because in 1937 he had this huge project at the Paris World Exposition, where he made a huge panorama, a photographic panorama, and he was not able to finish it in Paris because he was a Jew, and they told him he should send an Aryan assistant to finish this project. But however, as I told you before, he knew a lot of people, different people as well, and interesting, or however, Haas mostly worked for liberal media, like the Sonntag. This was a weekly illustrated supplement of the Wiener Tag. And this was a very important magazine for liberal or left-wing people and writers, because during the Catholic or the Christian conservative media had a large censorship, and it was very hard for people who were more modern. Within the Christian conservative media landscape, there was a lot of censorship, and this paper was more or less a source of light for those people. And like them, Haas also worked for those magazines, because its orientation was modern, and also in an aesthetically way, a sophisticated way. He could print his photographs there, because he made really impressive social reportages of Vienna during the time, and of course it was characterized very often by poverty. So he was able to print this work somehow only in this more liberal media. When Haas arrived in the States, he really starts very quickly to rebuild his career. In the States, he mainly worked as a printer and graphic designer, but before, from the start on, he was working as a photographer as well. Especially at the beginning, he was working in the field of photography to get jobs, and he especially portrayed people a lot, because as an enemy alien, he was not allowed to work as a photojournalist. So he started portraying people he knew. And especially in the first years, he was driving a lot through the country. And at that time, he photographed a lot of California, of the States. And he was so impressed by the wide countryside, and also I have to say he was very influenced by the so-called straight photography, that his photographs, his landscape photographs were more sober, and he also portrayed the people from a more distant point of view. I think he was so excited by this new, by this vibrant city of New York and the high skyscrapers, that he really wants to photograph it in this new point of view, aesthetically point of view. Yes, of course. He had many contacts with emigrated and exiled artists and other people. And they also helped him at the beginning to find some jobs or to get some projects. And we also have a lot of portraits he made from emigrated artists. For example, we have Oskar Kokoschka, he portrait, and conductor Arturo Toscanini, or for example, he portrayed also the scientist Albert Einstein. But he also had still contacts with friends he had before in Vienna. For example, the very well-known photographer Marion Post-Wolcott and her sister Helen Post. But I think the best friend he had there was his former teacher, the photographer Trude Fleischmann, who regularly went in and out at his home. And actually, I think it's very, very similar. Like today, immigrants are trying to help each other to orientate in a new country. And it was the same with Robert Haas. Soon after his arrival in the USA, he has got some teaching positions, first at the Goddard College at Vermont, I think, I'm not sure, and then later at the Black Mountain College in North Carolina. And it's interesting because both colleges were very modern in a way how they handle theory and practice in art education, so they wanted to interweave both together. And there were also working a lot of immigrant artists, for example, Josef and Annie Albers. They worked before in Germany at the Bauhaus. And later on also Robert Haas worked in different other colleges and camps, summer camps also, and all of them were very committed to the reform-oriented pedagogy. So he was really always very interested in new ideas of pedagogy, and I think he still worked as a teacher later for graphic design, book printing, calligraphy or typography. He worked still until the 1970s as a teacher, and he was always in these reform-oriented circles. So yes, this was his idea of teaching.